I'm Laurel Beversdorf, strength and conditioning coach.
And I'm Dr. Sarah Court, physical therapist.
With over 30 years of combined experience in fitness, movement, and physical therapy,
we believe in strong opinions, loosely held.
Which means we're not here to hype outdated movement concepts.
Or to gatekeep or fearmonger strength training for women.
For too long, women have been sidelined in strength training.
Oh, you mean handed pink dumbbells and told to sculpt?
Whatever that means, we're here to change that with tools, evidence, and ideas that center women's needs and voices.
Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, it's Laurel and welcome back to the Movement Logic podcast. Before we get into today's conversation, I want to quickly remind you that we have a free 3-day mini course all about barbell basics. If you've ever wanted to feel confident using barbell equipment, bench pressing, deadlifting, back squatting safely and effectively, or if you're unsure just generally how much weight should I be lifting at your current strength level, this mini course walks you through exactly how to do all of this. It gives you the tools and the technique and the know-how. It's totally free, and you can grab it through the link in our show notes. Today, Sarah and I are talking with one of my favorite dietitians online, Abby Langer. Abby has been a dietitian for more than 25 years, beginning her career in hospitals, working in medicine, gastroenterology, and the ICU, and later spending a decade in primary care, caring for patients across the lifespan. She has served as the clinical lead dietitian at 2 major Toronto hospitals. In 2013, she started Abby Langer Nutrition, a full-time counseling practice. She's also written a best-selling book, Good Food, Bad Diet, The Habits You Need to Ditch Diet Culture, Lose Weight, and Fix Your Relationship with Food Forever. She now sits on the Men's Health Magazine Nutrition Advisory Board and contributes regularly to outlets like CBC, USA Today, Forbes, and more. Abby is passionate about nutrition, science, and helping people cut through the confusion with evidence, clarity, and compassion. And I think you're really going to hear that in our interview with her today. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by nutrition advice online, confused about who to trust, bombarded by messages about clean eating, hormone-balancing diets, seed oil panic, sugar fear, gut health everything, or weight loss promises that just don't add up, Abby brings clarity and sanity and some much-needed humor. We dig into what dietitians actually do, why food guidelines get so much misplaced blame, the real drivers of weight change, what actually matters in a healthy diet, and how to build a calmer, more grounded relationship with food in a culture full of extremes. So let's get into it. Welcome, Abby. Thank you so much for joining us on the Movement Logic podcast. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
I love your Instagram presence. I love the way that you are taking the influencers to task and helping decomplicate eating for all of us and all kinds of nutrition misinformation that is basically proliferating the internet. So Thank you for your takedowns, your 1-2 punches, the way you stick it to them.
You are welcome.
You have a way with words, and we really appreciate your approach.
I just wanted to add, we're always really thrilled to meet fellow Mythbusters. And you work in an area that is not our wheelhouse, right? So we were really excited to bring you on. We also really like to define terms at the outset. So what is the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist? And then does that really matter if you're just someone looking for general nutrition advice?
The difference is that a dietitian is a regulated health professional. So all dietitians are nutritionists, but not all nutritionists are dietitians. Because the title is protected, the title of dietitian, you have to be registered and have written boards and belong to a regulatory body, depending on where you live, in order to call yourself a dietitian. Anybody can call themselves a nutritionist. So does it matter? I think it does, but it depends on the person. It depends on what you're looking for in terms of nutrition advice. If you're looking for nutrition advice that is evidence-based and from someone who took the schooling in order to really understand anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, all of that stuff, and can apply it to their practice and is governed under statutes and guidelines, if you will, of their regulatory body. If those things are important to you, then you should be seeking out a dietitian.
Nice.
Yeah.
So literally anybody can be a nutritionist. Like I could just start saying I'm a nutritionist.
Yes.
Laurel, we found a new avenue to grift from here on out. Movement and nutrition logic. That's our new name.
Trust me, I'm a nutritionist.
That's like a lot of people online who do that kind of stuff. And, it brings them authority because people don't understand that dietitians are the actual authority. They hear nutritionist and they think, oh, okay, this person has done like a course or a 2-year program that just doesn't measure up to what we do in dietetics.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So just so I'm clear, the registered part of the registered dietitian is the accountability part?
Yeah. So I'm registered with the College of Dietitians of Ontario. So they oversee my practice, and their job, as with all regulatory bodies throughout North America, is to protect the public from me.
Yeah.
It's not protecting me from the public.
It's like my doctorate in physical therapy, right? It's the same thing. Like,
exactly.
It's a degree that I am accountable to. I can have my license taken away if there's malpractice, things like that. Yeah.
Ah, very cool. Thanks for explaining that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we want to talk about what we should be eating to be healthy, Abby, because we are bombarded with all kinds of advice and we're a little lost.
That's a big topic.
Yeah. So people often, I notice, criticize the food guidelines. They have a lot of beef, or maybe they're vegetarian, they don't have a lot of beef, but they have a lot of things to say about how the government just is corrupt and they're getting it wrong, and the doctors are corrupt and they're getting it wrong, and the guidelines, they're total shit. Are these criticisms way off base? Is there some truth to it? And maybe you can tell us what the guidelines are even?
First of all, nobody follows the guidelines. And we know that. There is evidence, scientific evidence, that shows that the majority of people in North America do not follow any kind of nutrition guidelines. So as far as the argument that the guidelines are making people sick, and yes, I've heard that a million times, that's total bullshit, because nobody's following the guidelines. Only 1 out of 10 of us gets enough fruit and vegetables, and 90% of us don't get enough fiber. That's the crux of the actual guidelines. We're not following them. So the guidelines, are they corrupt? Listen, I think in every industry there is corruption of some sort. In Canada, the industry players were not invited to the table for our latest food guide development. Just because of that. They're like, nope, dairy industry, whatever industry, you are not going to take part in this.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's great.
Okay.
I think it's great because, listen, industry does have a stake in what we eat. Absolutely. And a lot of this is fine. It happens in every area of our lives. Someone's making money somewhere. However, I do believe that food guidelines, population-based guidelines, if you will, should not have industry influence. I truly and strongly believe that. And it's not a good look, right?
Yeah. So what's going on with us in the US? What tell us about ourselves? Like what do we have going on that Canada's doing better?
I know that guidelines in general are moving towards less prescriptive. You need 6 servings of X, you need 7 servings of Y, and more along the lines of eat fewer processed drink less alcohol, choose more whole foods, eat with other people, make food part of the community, and enjoy what you eat. And that is very much a step in the right direction.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're going to talk about corruption, like, how about your government saying that they're going to make saturated fat a recommendation, like eating more saturated fat a recommendation? I don't know if that's not necessarily going to happen, right? But most people who are in nutrition and the medical community are aghast at that suggestion, because it's flies in the face of all of the evidence that we have. And yes, there is so much evidence that saturated fat, a diet high in saturated fat, is not health promoting.
Yeah, we have a little like mini question about the push for beef tallow on our list of questions we want to ask you, but I guess we could just knock that one down right now. Like I see everywhere, I'm in Alabama, which is a very Republican state.
Yeah.
And now everywhere, these restaurants that are already selling like really high in fat, greasy foods are now shifting to beef tallow.
Yeah, of course.
As if that makes the food healthier. It has this now buzzy word feel to it where like you see beef tallow and you're like, oh, okay, it's beef tallow. That's so much better, right? Kind of like cane sugar, so much better than actual sugar or whatever the actual sugar is.
Didn't McDonald's a while ago stop using beef tallow to fry their French fries because it was unhealthy? But so now we're bringing it back in? Like, what is happening?
What's happening is that there is a fringe group of people, unfortunately, that has permeated your government, whose ideas are not evidence-based. However, they're in positions of authority, right? And so people are like, oh yeah, let's, have natural flavors in Skittles so they're healthier, and beef tallow. And I don't know, but like it's not any healthier, and it's merely a distraction from what would actually make people healthier, which is improved nutrition, education, access to healthier foods, whole foods, subsidies for those whole foods, access to healthcare, access to safe housing. Like all of those social determinants of health are just being ignored because, oh my God, Fruit Loops have no artificial colors anymore. Isn't that healthy? What a win.
So you're saying taking away SNAP benefits is not the right direction to head in?
Oh my God. It's so awful. There's so many people on SNAP. I did a Instagram reel about it the other day where this guy, this conservative commentator, and not all conservatives or Republicans are follow these people, and they're not bad people and all of that, but it's like this fringe, very loud group who are like, this guy was like, SNAP benefit, the people who use that are just bad people, and a lot of them are just lazy and entitled. And it's like, no, dude, like, how about hundreds of thousands of veterans? How about people who are going to school and can't afford groceries because they're trying to get a degree and contribute more to society, or the elderly or the disabled? Like it's just like without nuance. It's like, let's pit us against everybody else.
Yeah, it's let's pit everyone against poor people, or everyone against just name some vulnerable group of people. Yeah.
It's crazy as a Canadian looking at it. It's so nuts to me that people believe that kind of rhetoric is helpful, because as I've grown up, I mean, I did live in the States for some time, but as someone who lives in a country with socialized medicine, I see the benefit of taking care of your neighbor, and how, people in the US sometimes like to say, oh, well, Canadians, it's, you wait for healthcare, you'll die waiting for a whatever transplant. It's not true. And listen, like, your society reaps the benefits when you take care of each other. And it's just a different way of thinking. Yeah, it's hard to watch.
It's hard to be in.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I have plenty of American friends, and I just feel like, and they're just beside themselves, really.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, honestly. I'm just like, I just want you to do the talking, Abby, because I'm in a state of despair.
Well, I could talk about it for a long time, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure your listeners really want to hear that.
Yeah. Let's get back to the topic at hand, which is food and eating and being healthy, Abby. So we hear a lot about what we should be eating in terms of certain types of diets, right? So I remember like 5 or 10 years ago, it was about eating clean.
Yeah.
You have to eat clean. And now it's about hormone balancing diets, or sometimes anti-inflammatory diets. So I want to ask you, are any of these ways evidence-based ways to eat? Is there any legitimacy to these ways of eating? What are these ways of eating? What do you think these words actually mean? Clean eating, hormone balancing, anti-inflammatory.
I would say the vast majority of people who use those buzzwords because that's all they are, and try to sell you products or diets or whatever, do not even know what they mean. Clean, as it relates to food, has absolutely no official meaning. And it just can mean anything. It generally means like whole foods, no chemicals, even though everything's made out of chemicals. Like, don't even get me started. Anti-inflammatory, sure. We suspect that a diet that's full of fiber and whole foods and very little alcohol or ultra processed foods can help with inflammatory markers. And then what was the other one? The hormone balancing, which is like the worst, because you actually see some dietitians doing this too, which makes me enraged. Because what is that? What is balancing your hormones? Hormones are always not balanced. Like, they're always in flux, right? So what does a balanced hormone look like? Like, we don't have an answer, and it looks different for everybody. It's all just marketing spin. Yes, like when you eat a combination of protein, carbohydrates, and fat, it does help your blood sugar rise slower and come down slower. Is that what they mean by hormone balancing, or is it just like some nebulous term? Usually it's the latter, right?
Yeah.
The bottom line is that my personal recommendations have not changed for probably close to 20 years. I've been a dietitian for 25 years, 26 years. I don't know, close to that. And I'm knee deep in the research every day, but we've always known that, again, it's not sexy. Lots of fiber, lots of plants, lots of whole foods, enjoying what you eat, not feeling stressed about, food choices and freaking out about, is this going to make me fat? Not drinking a lot of alcohol, not eating a lot of ultra processed food, consistency. Those are the things that really matter. Who cares? Yeah. Like, I don't give a shit about an anti-inflammatory diet. What the hell? Why are you spending like fucking all these dollars on AG1 and then you go and drink 2 fucking glasses of wine every night? Like, but seriously, it's so frustrating because a lot of these people, they major in the minors. And it's like, do you have the basics down? Who cares about all of those diets or supplements? Are you eating enough fiber? Are you eating enough fruits and vegetables? Are you eating on a consistent basis in a consistent way?
I think we see something similar in the fitness exercise world where people get so jazzed about like this special variation of an exercise or doing like this particular thing or this new piece of equipment that's going to blast your booty or whatever. But the majority of them, again, are to your point, are not doing the bread and butter. They're not doing like basic like ABCs of getting stronger. I think sometimes as humans, we like the new flashy, we like sparkly things, right? So that always seems more appealing than like what this sort of very quotidian prescription of like, oh, I'm going to pick up a barbell. That's dull.
Yeah, that's old. That's old school. But it's people want results and they want them now. And they are never going to be satisfied because there's no quick fix. I mean, I guess Ozempic would be, or GLP-1 agonist medications might be the quickest fix we have, but not everyone qualifies for them and not everyone should be taking them.
Yeah. So it sounds like we have shiny thingitis and we also are impatient.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. It's the human condition, right?
Okay. That was going to be my question. I'm like, what's up with people? Why are we always majoring in the minors? Why can't we just stick to the boring basics with exercise, with nutrition? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you mentioned ultra processed foods a couple of times, and I sort of became aware of this new concept, or new to me, I should say, concept of probably a few months ago. Can you tell us, like, what's the difference between just processed versus ultra processed? What's so bad about ultra processed? Help me. Isn't pasteurizing milk basically processing it?
That's right.
So, okay.
Yeah. So those two terms cannot really be used interchangeably, although that is frequently done. So processed food is any food that has been hulled or roasted or pasteurized, anything like that. But it generally most often resembles its initial form. And it also means that there haven't been a lot of additives added to it. Okay. Ultra processed food is sort of the opposite of that. It has had several additives added to it. It has been highly refined. It does not resemble what it came into the factory as. It's often high in sugar, high in fats, low in fiber. So those are the foods that we recommend eating less of. Do I recommend never eating ultra processed food? Absolutely not. Most people love at least a few types of ultra processed food. And not only
They're
that,
delicious. Yeah.
they're delicious and they're also accessible and convenient. So it's not about eliminating them altogether. It's making them a smaller percentage of your diet in favor of more whole and minimally processed foods. But it's harder for some people than others, because if you're eating out of a food bank or you don't have a lot of money, ultra processed foods tend to be the quickest choice and the most accessible choice. And so to say, well, everyone, can buy a bag of dried beans and some rice and then cook that, it's like, okay, well, what if they don't have a functioning kitchen? Or what if they're working 3 jobs and don't have the time? Like, it's so important to understand the nuance behind food choices and why people make them and their individual situations, which are probably not like yours.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, let's talk about weight gain. That's another topic I hear a lot about online. Apparently, there's a lot of ways to gain weight and a lot of different things you're not supposed to eat if you don't want to gain weight. There's something about inflammation I keep hearing, something about doing too much cardio. There's just so many ways to gain weight, apparently. So
Okay.
how does weight gain work, Abby? Like, why do people gain weight when they don't want to gain weight? What are they doing wrong? Or what do they need to change?
Listen, that's a great question, but the answer differs for everyone. What are people doing? They're eating too many calories and they're not burning enough calories. Some of the things that I see most often in terms of people's habits that cause weight gain is they exercise too much, which leads to being really hungry and overcompensating with food, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but for example, I was training for a marathon and I actually gained weight because I was eating so much because I was so hungry. But there's also this element of permissiveness, right? Oh, I ran 15 miles. I can eat like 2 donuts and a apple fritter.
Would you say that the issue there is people are exercising too much? Or would you say that they are not eating at the right time? Or you said they're eating actually too much?
So there's new research that shows that exercise not only gives a sense of permissiveness and increases hunger, but also tends to slow down the metabolic rate to conserve calories if you over exercise, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that nobody should exercise. It's just not a great weight loss tool on its own.
Right.
And the body has compensatory mechanisms that lead us to eat more and conserve fat in our body. So it's not a good idea. I'm saying this because I see people who exercise a lot because they want to lose weight and it just doesn't work for them.
So that's what you mean by exercising too much.
Yeah, I mean, exercising too much is the nuance here, right? Like everyone should be active and that's just for health. But in terms of weight loss, it can work the opposite if all you're doing is like slogging away on a treadmill for like 2 hours a day.
Yeah. I also think that while training for a marathon is probably not the best time to also try to be in a calorie deficit losing weight. You know what I mean? Like we have to kind of pick our seasons. If you're trying to lose weight, maybe don't also be training for a marathon.
Well, I mean, and I don't even think I was, in my case, trying to be in a calorie deficit, but it just made me so hungry. And I've heard that from a lot of people where they're like, I gained weight because I was so hungry. And I also felt like I could just eat whatever I wanted because I ran so much. But I also see a lot of people drinking alcohol, a lot of alcohol, which is basically, I hate the term empty calories, but they're non-nutritive, right? There's really no benefit to drinking alcohol, at least no health benefit. I see people who graze all the time. I have a lot of grazers in my practice. They come to me, they're like, I graze all day. I thought that was good for me, and I've gained weight, because your stomach is never empty and it's never full. So you're always in the perpetual snacky mood, right? So that tends to lead to overeating and just picking things. You just eat more than you think. So there's so many reasons why people gain weight when they don't want to. And generally speaking, these are all habits that people are unaware of.
Yeah.
Which is why I have people record their intakes, not necessarily with calories, but it's like great information to have a food record so that you can really look back and think, oh yeah, like I've been eating all day long. I should have more protein, or I should have more regular meals. I skipped breakfast here. Look what happened later on in the day. Like all of that stuff is valuable information.
I hear people say that it's the carbs that make them gain weight. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, you know what? I heard that too. Like I was recently talking to someone who I've known forever, and they were like, yeah, I can't eat pasta because every time I eat it, I gain a bunch of weight. And I'm like, yeah, because glycogen binds 3 or 4 times its weight in water. That's just water. It's not fat gain. Like we don't want to gain fat, obviously, but you're not going to gain fat unless you consume more calories than you burn. If you have a small dish of pasta, like no one's going to gain fat from that on its own.
Right. Some people even say that fruit is basically candy.
Yeah, that's just another extreme version of nutrition that is so prevalent right now, and it's so harmful because it's confusing to people. It makes them anxious about eating, and they are like, what can I eat if I can't eat fruit? Like I thought fruit was good for us. And it's just it's a bad state of affairs right now, because anybody can position themselves as an expert and say stuff like that, and they'll have an audience.
Yeah, some people even think that sugar is poison. Is sugar poison? Do humans ever consume actual poison and live, Abby?
Not intentionally. Yeah, no. So sugar is not poison. Food is not poison. It's not toxic. It's just food. And people who speak in hyperbole like that are people who you don't want to be taking nutrition advice from. Anything is harmful if you eat too much of it. And sugar is included in that. But unfortunately, we live in a society now that thrives on extremes. So if I go online, which I often do, and say, it's okay to have some sugar, I get dragged. Oh, obviously I'm promoting people eat like a diet full of sugar, and that they go out right now and buy a case of chocolate bars and Pop-Tarts because, oh my God, look at the dietitian. She's like giving terrible information. There's no gray area right now. And the reason for that is that it gets more clicks and more attention when you're extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sugar. So cane sugar is healthier than high fructose corn syrup, right?
Has been no evidence that shows that consumption of high fructose corn syrup is any more dangerous or that it affects our health any differently than normal sugar. The thing is with high fructose corn syrup is that it is in a lot of sugar sweetened beverages like sodas, right? So they take people and they're like, the people who drink the most soda, which has high fructose corn syrup, are the sickest, or they have the fattiest livers, which is not surprising because soda delivers a very large amount of sugar into your body at one time. It overloads the system, right? If you're drinking a lot of soda, I'm not saying you should never have a Coke every once in a while, like whatever. But of course, that's it. But it's not the high fructose corn syrup. Rather, it's the amount of sugar that people are putting into their bodies that is the problem. And I've tried to hammer this idea home for years. I don't care what sweetener you use, like honey, maple syrup, white sugar, brown sugar. They're all the same to our bodies. I don't care if coconut sugar has nutrients. Like, are you eating sugar for the nutrients? You must be eating a lot of sugar for that, right? Date syrup, oh, it's lower on the glycemic index. Yeah, but you're not eating it on its own. So all of that is a moot point, right?
Right.
Use the one you like the best and use the least amount of it that you can.
Yeah,
Period.
Maha made this big deal. Oh, now Coke has cane sugar in it, so it's so much better for you.
Yeah.
And I did post about that. I mean, it's all performative distraction from the things that really matter and that will really make people healthier.
All right, so we've demystified the idea that any one type of sugar is better for you than any other type of sugar. Maha be damned. What about different types of fat? We talked a little bit about how saturated fat is not something that we should be, pushing for. But in terms of sources of fat, are there generally, better or worse sources of fat?
So a healthy diet has a combination of fats. I'm not telling anybody not to eat saturated fat ever. The only fat that we should never eat is trans fat, but it's being phased out of the food system. Other than that, and saturated fats can be a part of any healthy diet. That includes seed oils, which everyone says are so toxic, but the research says.
Well, I just saw people getting upset about it, but I was like, this seems dumb. And I never bothered to investigate, like, why are people upset about seed oils?
Yeah, because they think that seed oils cause inflammation and that they are highly processed, blah, 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 because the people who eat the most seed oils apparently are the sickest. However, seed oils are present in a lot of ultra processed food. So is it the seed oils or is it the ultra processed food?
Right. Okay.
This is the thing. It's like we're getting dumber. I mean, correlation does not equal causation, but because it's a soundbite, oh, seed oils are terrible, and that gets attention. That's a narrative they continue to push. When a very, very brief lit search will show you very good evidence that seed oils like canola oil, grapeseed oil, soybean oil, whatever, otherwise known as polyunsaturated fats, decrease inflammation. A diet that has these seed oils in it is associated with better health markers, not worse. And the saturated fat thing is, it also has nuance. I've been saying that word so much because nutrition basically is nuance. Saturated fat from animal products like meat, for example, like red meat, is showing to be more harmful to our health in terms of our cholesterol levels or like blood lipid levels than saturated fat from dairy products. Okay. So there is no association between higher fat dairy products and heart attacks or risk for all-cause mortality.
Huh.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
And a study from quite a few years ago debunked the whole dairy is inflammatory thing. Like, that's nonsense. It's actually anti-inflammatory. People avoid dairy like the plague, but it's such an easy and accessible way to nourish yourself. I love it, actually. And I'm not working with the dairy farmers. I did, but I'm not right now and haven't for a while. So
it reminds me a little bit of the whole, like, there are people who are lactose intolerant. Yeah. That is a thing. And there are people who have celiac disease. That is a thing. Yeah. But it always sort of struck me that people went on like a non-dairy, non-gluten diet
always
as an excuse not to eat bread.
Yeah, I know. Just tell people you're trying to lose weight and you're cutting out an entire food group, because your naturopath or your whatever said they always take out gluten and dairy. That's like, dietitians actually laugh because we're like, oh yeah, no gluten and dairy again.
Wait, can we talk just for a second, like a little detour here? Naturopaths.
I knew you were going to do that.
They're not
all bad. Okay, so tell me about naturopaths. You told me about nutritionists. You told me about dietitians. Now tell me about naturopaths.
Naturopath, actually, it is a regulated health profession. Listen, I want to preface this by saying that there are dietitians, registered dietitians, who give terrible advice, who are full of garbage. But naturopaths, I do see quite a bit of pseudoscience coming from that sort of group. Are there naturopaths that stay in their lane and who are amazing? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. but it's just,
It's making me think of chiropractors, because I think you could say the same.
100%. I know
Yeah.
a bunch of chiropractors who are awesome.
Yeah.
But they stay in their lanes, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Let's talk about protein. Abby, officially, once and for all, how much protein do we need?
It just depends. But we know that the recommendations of 0.8 to 1.0 grams per kilogram that were around when I was in nutrition school, and that was a lot, like 1997, 1998. Those are way too low. Those are like the bare minimum. Okay. We know that it's more like 1.4, 1.6, or 1.8 grams per kilogram of protein for healthy people. There are exceptions, but for most healthy people, yes, that is the recommendation.
1.4 to 1.8 per kilogram.
Because I do think sometimes people also get confused here in the States, and they just translate it to per pound, which ends up being like a shit ton more protein.
A lot.
It's literally more than double the amount of protein if you do it with pounds instead of with kilograms.
And some people are recommending that. I think one very popular author who happens to be Canadian is recommending a very outsized amount of protein. And I've had people come to me for nutrition counseling, and they're like, but Peter Attia, that's who it is. That, and I'm like, but you're not eating anything else. You're eating so much protein, it's actually pushing out every other nutrient in your diet because you're too full. Protein has a huge effect on satiety. So if you eat too much of it, you're just going to feel like you're not hungry all the time. And we don't need freaking protein popcorn and protein candy and protein water. And no, that's all marketing. Don't fall for that. If you want candy, eat candy. Don't eat a freaking bag of $8 protein. It's disgusting. I bought them and I was like, oh my God, pass the friggin' jelly beans. This is disgusting. It's please start recognizing marketing when you see it.
Well, I remember when everything went fat-free, right? It was fat-free this, fat-free that. And it was like,
people got fatter because they were like, oh, I should be eating this. It's fat-free. I remember. I lived through that. The salad dressing and the Snackwells and the fat-free Oreos or whatever. And the mayonnaise. It was like, translucent. It was weird.
It gave you the shits.
It did.
Oh my God, Olestra.
Yeah.
Olestra was the
I loved Olestra though. I brought some back for the dietitians where I was working. I brought a couple of bags of Doritos back, and oh my God, my friend who's a dietitian ate too many, and she was on the toilet forever.
Oh no.
Like orange poo. It's disgusting, really. Yeah, it was gross.
Can we have another detour conversation about Peter Attia? Just hot take on Peter Attia.
I don't know a lot about Peter Attia. Everything I've seen so far has been aggravating to me, especially the fact that he's Canadian. But
I didn't know he was Canadian.
He's from Toronto, but I could be wrong. But there's been this big explosion of celebrity nutrition and wellness gurus, including like the carnivore shirtless guy and fucking Bobby Parrish and that Peter Attia and Huberman. Dude, no. These are just the perfect example of people who are taking an extreme position to try to sell people longevity and wellness and buy this and in my red light friggin' and my yellow fucking glasses and like all of the stupid glasses. If you see someone wearing those yellow glasses, immediately that's a problem.
There's a red flag.
First of all, why do you want to live forever? And you're so anxious about fucking living an extra 2 years, you're going to make yourself sick and you're going to make yourself broke, which is also associated with an earlier death. Mark Hyman is another one. It's like, so all of these people, they have an agenda and that's great and everything. Like, sure, let's increase our health span, but can we not do it with unnecessary bullshit? and saunas and fucking cold plunges. There's no evidence behind that. Maybe there is, but it's in rats and you're not a rodent. So like, are you doing the basics, right?
It keeps coming back to the basics.
Yes.
And we hate that so much.
I know. Peter Attia is so, like so captivating and, like this is the way you're going to, and I know the research, and it's like, and Stacey Sims is another one. It's like, oh God.
Yep.
It just, and Mary Claire Haver, these people, they're selling snake oil and they're preying on a lot of women who are desperate because they have been ignored by the healthcare system, which is horrible, or they're just preying on people who are afraid of getting old.
Yeah.
We're all getting old. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
One thing you'll never hear him talk about are the social determinants of health.
Yeah.
Peter Attia?
None of the people you named.
Never.
Like
and
ever.
I call them all out for it. I call Mark Hyman out for his absolutely elitist positions that, like, basically if you're poor you're screwed because you can't afford like ghee and fucking grass-fed
right, exactly,
yogurt, whatever. It's like crazy already.
And same with Attia. Like, he'll talk about how he works out 10 hours a week or something like that. And I'm like, well, I'm very glad for you that you have all that free time.
I know,
because you have the wealth that you have built up by grifting people out of so many things. But to Laurel's point, the thing for me that's always so frustrating about these people in general is the idea of optimizing yourself is this thing that you should be working towards. Like, everyone needs to be optimizing every single aspect of your life.
Biohacking. It's hacking.
Exactly.
Everyone's looking to hack everything, but it's making people sicker.
Yeah, it's not working. It's only working to make these people more wealthy.
True.
Which is,
it's very self-involved, and at the antithesis of what we were talking about earlier, which is a healthy society takes care of itself. But if I'm so up my own butt about my longevity and all the supplements that I need to be on and the cold plunge that I need to do every fucking day, like, I don't have time for you, neighbor. I don't have time to be worrying about these people over here because me, and what do I need to buy and what do I need to buy? It's like, that's
very Gabrielle Lyons. That's another one. Like, all of them. It's just so obnoxious, and none of it's real too.
Yeah.
And the image that they portray, I don't think is real. And also, there's no evidence that these people are going to live longer or be happier than anybody else, right?
They're going to have a lot more money, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're assholes.
That's true. That's true.
You want to live your life as an asshole grifter? Like, that's a choice.
That's a choice.
No matter where you go, there you are. They still have to wake up with themselves in the morning.
I got one more question I do want to ask, because I hear this a lot. Is plant protein inferior to animal protein, Abby?
Yeah. So that's a great question. It is not as bioavailable as animal protein. However, that doesn't mean that you have to eat twice as much to get the same amount. A healthy diet has a combination of foods. You don't have to worry about, my tofu isn't as bioavailable as my steak. Just eat more plants, eat beans, eat lentils, eat a variety of foods. It'll work itself out.
Yeah, I heard that if you eat a variety of plant proteins, you're going to have the full profile. Is that true?
Yeah. So aside from bioavailability, most plant proteins, except for soy, have a limiting amino acid, meaning they're not a complete protein. They don't have all of the amino acids in the amounts that are required. But yes, we used to believe that you had to eat plant proteins together, like beans and rice, for example, in order to form a complete protein. We now know that that's not necessary. The body does it for us. As long as we eat a variety of protein foods every day, then we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. All right. So we talked about protein. We've talked about sugar. We've talked about fat. Let's talk about fiber. Because this is one that I feel like suddenly my entire Instagram feed is about fiber. And I was like, finally, is it because I'm entering like the Metamucil age of my life? Like, what is happening?
Fiber maxing.
How much is enough fiber, and why is it important that we get enough? Yeah. What is it actually doing for our bodies?
Okay. So most healthy individuals need between 20 and 35 grams of fiber a day. Okay. Most of us are not getting even close to that. We're getting like maybe 15 or 12 grams per day. The purpose of fiber is many pronged. It helps keep us regular. So it helps our digestive system function properly. It helps with satiety. So it helps us be fuller for longer. It helps with blood lipids. So its job is to bind to some of the cholesterol and bring it out of the body. And it also feeds our good gut bacteria, which, I mean, we're only at the tip of the iceberg in terms of gut health and its effects on human health. But we do know that a healthy gut fed by fiber, it seems to be linked with a multitude of health benefits. So in other words, like, we need to get going on our fiber intake.
Right on. Hey, I got a question about these Olipop sodas, these fiber sodas. Like, what is up with that? Can you drink fiber? I don't understand this. How can you drink fiber?
Yeah, so they do have fiber in them. It's inulin fiber, most of all. There are a couple other kinds that other products use, but it does count as fiber. However, many people become really gassy with it. Like, I wouldn't say you should have 12 Olipops or Poppy, whatever sodas every day to get your fiber. You'd be farting like you'd go into orbit. You have like the worst diarrhea, cramps, like most likely, right? Most people can't tolerate a lot of that because it's a sugar alcohol. And so it's just like really farty. I mean, that being said, those symptoms occur because your gut bacteria are having a party in there. Digesting the inulin, and that's a party that you want to host. You just don't want it to get out of hand,
right?
Like any party.
I love that.
But yeah, they do have fiber, you know, as an adjunct to a higher fiber diet. It's fine. I do think there is a bit of a health halo with those sodas.
Well, aren't they highly processed?
Well, they're soda. Yeah. Do they have sugar? They have lower sugar. It's fine. Like, you can crack one open every once in a while, but they're super expensive. And a healthy, varied diet has several different types of fiber.
There we go.
There's more than just inulin fiber. And so you really want to include a variety of whole foods in your diet. So you get that. If you want to have a prebiotic soda every once in a while, that's fine too. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm getting to ask all the questions I'm curious about.
Laurel, did you want to ask a little bit about the gut health stuff since we sort of started talking about it?
I do, and it's going to actually also be a vehicle for my next question that I'm selfishly very curious about. Okay, so gut health. Apparently, it's now all about gut health. And you said we're kind of just at the very tip of the iceberg with gut health. So is it true that it's all about gut health? Does everything come down to gut health? And are there gut healthy foods?
Okay, so great question. So does it all come down to gut health? Well, some quacky people say that every single disease has its basis in gut health. I call bullshit on that. No, it doesn't all come down to gut health. A lot of it seems to come down to gut health. We don't know. Nutrition science it's very hard to keep people in a lab, and actually unethical. And when I say very hard, it's impossible to keep people in a lab over a long period of time and feed them a controlled diet to assess the outcomes in their health over time. But what we do know is that people who eat more fiber seem to have better health outcomes. And we believe that it has something to do with the health of their gut. Okay. What does a healthy gut look like? It looks different for everybody. That's another compounder, right? We know
it's important to recognize that there's so much we don't know about gut health. So making really bold, definitive claims about gut health, they're just making that up because how could they possibly know it?
Yeah, like one of the claims that I see quite a bit is around gut health and weight loss, for example, or gut health and mood. There may be associations with certain strains of gut bacteria and those outcomes, but we don't know the mechanism. Like, how does it work? And how do we get more of these bacteria? And what's the level of those bacteria that we need for that outcome? And how long does that outcome like? These are all unanswered questions. So anyone saying, oh, these probiotics, they're fat burning probiotics, that's bullshit. Nobody has done that research and it doesn't exist.
So probiotics are bullshit, or people who are saying you'll lose fat by eating them?
that. But probiotics is another thing. Probiotics are great if you have a specific condition, if you will, like C. difficile or like drug-induced diarrhea, traveler's diarrhea, or IBS in some cases. But just taking a probiotic so you don't get a cold, like my mom used to make me do in the 80s, that's never been proven.
Okay.
So yeah, people put a lot of stake into these things, and it's like, no, there's no evidence behind. There's very specific strains and in doses of probiotics for very specific conditions. Everything else is like, no.
So if my yogurt says probiotics on it, or if anything says probiotics on it, it's just a marketing ploy?
Well, it is in most cases, except for if you're selling probiotics. If you have an actual label telling you the strains and that, you know, they're specially packaged to withstand the acidic environment of the stomach, and how many colony forming units there are in that product. People buying probiotic yogurt, like Activia is a good one. It has research around it, but not all yogurt's probiotic. And also a lot of the yogurts that are advertised as probiotic don't have as much probiotic in them as they say, and it's like a mess a little bit.
Okay. Well, I have one more question. It's kind of about gut health. I love fermented food, and I get in really big trouble in my house when I bring kimchi into the house.
That's so good, though.
I love kimchi, and everyone else thinks it smells horrible. I wanted to ask you about kimchi, pickles. Pretty much if it's fermented, I'll love it and I'll eat it. Do these vegetables have the same nutrients in them as fresh vegetables? Like, am I getting the same benefit? I know I'm getting a lot of salt. I understand that.
Yeah.
But if I'm willing to accept that trade-off, am I still also getting the micronutrients from the vegetable that's fermented, or is it not the same?
That's such a good question. I don't even think I know the answer to that. But you asked me earlier about foods that are good for gut health. And aside from fiber and fruits and vegetables and whole grains and all of that, fermented foods have been shown to be good for gut health as well. Just make sure they're fizzy. So
Fizzy.
Yeah. So you know how you go and you buy some sauerkraut or pickles or even kimchi, and you can feel like it's not fizzy. It's like
kombucha.
Yeah, kombucha. But that tells you that the bacteria is alive.
Ooh.
Which probiotics are bacteria. But if you heat them, they die. Yeah. And how are a lot of foods jarred? They're put into the jar and then they're cooked. So like that jar of pickles, probably not probiotic. That barrel of pickles you get in the Polish deli down the street that like has been there forever, those are more likely to have probiotics.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Good to know.
I just learned so much, by the way. This has been really, really interesting. And I was like, wow. How do we possibly have a sane relationship with food at this point? Like, what does that even look like anymore in a world where we're bombarded with some good information and a lot of misinformation on the internet, where there's a societal aspect to it, where there's an emotional component to it, right? Our personal relationships to food. As women, there's a whole patriarchal relationship to eating and being a lady, and you know, you're not supposed to eat too much. You should, you know, all that kind of stuff, right?
Well, that is bullshit. First of all, the patriarchal stuff you need to immediately reject. I think, you know, it comes down to, again, focusing on the basics and tuning out the noise. There are so many people out there who give great information and then they'll sprinkle in little kernels of pseudoscience. Yeah. And that's problematic. So my advice is to clean up your social media feed, focus on the basics, don't compare yourself to others. And if you have issues around food and eating, if you grew up in a household where parents dieted or put you on a diet or commented on bodies and you're constantly on a diet, or you feel awful about yourself and you punish yourself by restricting food or dieting, and you don't feel worthy unless you weigh a certain amount, that's not a food thing. That's a psychology thing.
Yeah.
And take care of that. Clean out your closet so you're free to eat in a way that makes you happy. I often will send clients to psychologists just because you're not going to make lasting, meaningful change with me for your nutrition until you take care of all of that other stuff. That's why everybody needs to check in with themselves right now. What's my relationship with food like? How do I feel about myself and my body and food? And how did I grow up? feeling about food and hearing about bodies. But yeah, like just try to tune out the noise and understand that most of the stuff that we see on social media is not real. There was a recent study that showed that 1% of diet and nutrition information is accurate. It was like 1% or 3%. It was very low. The rest is not accurate. So just understand that most of what you hear, even if it sounds great, may not be the truth.
Wow.
It also depends on what the algorithm is targeting you with, right? Like I follow people like you and other evidence-based experts in their respective fields. And I feel like the percentage of correct information I might get might be a little bit higher, but then I hate follow a lot of people, see what they're up to.
I refuse to do that because it makes me so angry, but I guess I don't know. But if you have a trusted person like me or Amanda Thebe or Jed Gunter or Dr. Ids, see who they follow.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't hate follow people, but people who we follow the most are people who have evidence-based views.
Yeah. Is there, sorry, I just have one last little follow-up. Is there a way, I mean, that sounds like a really good way to know, okay, these people all follow each other. Therefore, if I find that one of them is trustworthy, likely the rest of them are trustworthy as well. Apart from that, are there other ways that people can really suss out if what they're seeing online about nutrition and food is real or pseudoscience or fake?
I mean, anybody who is making claims that use fear or shock value, you can cure cancer by this one thing in your pantry, or never eat Pop-Tarts or crumble cookies because they contain yoga mats and, they're toxic. That kind of rhetoric is such a red flag. People who have stores where they sell supplements, like Amazon stores, they have their own lines of supplements. That's a red flag. Hyperbole, red flag, skinny talk. There are a lot of influencers who are berating people for not being skinny and saying how great skinny is. Obviously, that's terrible and harmful. And so anyone who, is demeaning, and punitive to others for how they look and how they eat, don't go there.
Yeah.
And anyone who doesn't acknowledge the social determinants of health, who make nutrition and food and eating seem it's easy. It's not easy. Right. Simple does not mean easy. And it also does not take into account other people's struggles. So anyone telling you that X is easy, forget it. Maybe it's easy for them, but what about everyone else?
Those are really good tips. Well, Abby, thank you very, very much for coming on and talking to us. I knew this was going to be a lot of fun, and it was. And I also learned so much, so thank you. Where can people find you, Abby?
Yeah. So if you want to book an appointment for nutrition counseling with me and get more information about that, you can go to my website, abbylangernutrition.com. You can find me on Substack at Bite Me, period. My new Substack. And on Instagram at Langer Nutrition, and on Facebook at Abby Langer Nutrition.
Perfect. We'll put all of that in the show notes.
Awesome.
All righty.
Thank you
so much. Thanks for listening, everyone. After we wrapped the recording, I just wanted to let you know that Sarah and I continued to ask Abby questions. And one more question that we did ask her off air that I wanted to share her answer with you here was, we asked whether frozen or canned vegetables are as healthy as fresh vegetables. And she told us that they're often healthier because they are processed right after picking. Fresh produce, on the other hand, can sit on trucks or in storage for weeks, losing some nutrients along the way. So actually, frozen or canned vegetables can be healthier. So we wanted to share that answer with you because it sort of flies in the face of at least what I thought. I thought, oh, if it's, in a bag or in a can, it's not as good for me. She does say that you might want to rinse the canned vegetables because a lot of times there's a lot of salt in those. But at any rate, I thought this was a really good thing to share. And I think it's good news because it's just going to make eating vegetables more accessible, more affordable, and less, I don't know. I always feel guilty when I have to throw away the fresh vegetables that we didn't end up eating. I compost them, but I still feel kind of bad. You don't often have to do that with frozen vegetables, at least. We eat a lot of frozen vegetables in my house because you just take what you are going to eat for that meal, right? So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because I thought it was just such refreshing, evidence-based, accessible advice, which Lord knows we need more of that in this world. All right, everybody, we hoped you enjoyed this episode, and make sure to check out our free 3-day barbell mini course in the show notes. It's free, and it's a lot of fun. We bring our personalities everywhere we go, Sarah and I. But you'll also learn how to bench press, deadlift, back squat. These are life skills. And you'll learn to do it with confidence. And you'll learn exactly how to know how much weight to lift, because we get that question a lot. How much weight should I be lifting? You can figure that out yourself with a few simple tools. So head to the show notes, click the link, and sign up. You'll get that free mini course delivered directly to your inbox, instant gratification style. Until then, happy holidays. We will see you in 2 weeks for our next In-Betweenie.